5 basics for creating a formal sustainability program. Topic of my conversation today with 2 experts from the Hackett Group. Mélani Flores is Associate Principal. Hello, Mélani.
Hello.
And Nic Walden is Senior Director. Hello, Nic.
Hello.
So I'm going to take these one by one, and I'm going to ask the 2 of you to take me through them and comment a little bit on each of these so-called 5 critical enablers that Hackett has identified, again, as keys to success in creating a formal sustainability program. Let me start with you, Nic. The first one is define. What does that mean?
So I think this is a super important topic, and it's not often the position that we start from, right? We know we want to do the right thing and deliver a positive good in terms of our sustainability program, but I think it's super important to consider what it means for our business, right? We're talking about the environment, the social, the governance aspects, right? The ESG, that's the most common broad definition out there. An alternative definition you might hear about is sociable responsible investing, SRI, but it's super important to consider what it means for our business, right? So, you can go to different conferences and you can listen to webcast sessions like this, but what you'll hear is organizations focusing on different things because it means different things for their own organization. So what does it mean for your organization? Who is the audience, right? So who's asking or instructing or telling you that this is an important topic, right? Is it your end customers? Is it some of the governance bodies like the executive board? Maybe it's some of the suppliers in your supply chain and so on. And then you have other considerations to think about, right? So what's the goal going to be for our business, for our organization, and what might our public commitment be?
Okay,
right?
Good level set then. Mélani, let me ask you to take the next one, and that is formulate. What does that involve?
Well, this has to do with formulating a strategy and what you're going to do about it. So it's really about, starting from what you are trying to achieve, which is very important, and understand what are the targets and the objectives that you have, because this is really what is going to drive most probably what your program is going to be. You need to have create a program that is going to address those objectives that you were saying, and as Nic was saying, it might be something around the social element, diversity and inclusion in other areas. It might be about environmental aspects. So I think this is important to have that as a center of what you are going to do. And then, create a program. Something that is very important is to make sure that it's going to be, cross-functional requirements. So you need to be working with other parties in the company. Very important here is when you're developing your strategy is to consider the materiality analysis. And this is pretty much an analysis of what is the impact of the organization that has, an environmental point of view, social aspects, economic, for your community, for your investors, for your stakeholders, and use that in the way to define a strategy that is going to work for you.
Great. Let me stay with you, Mélani, on number 3, and that is drive. Please explain.
Yeah, well, drive is about you have your program and you need to be able to drive a number of activities, and there are 2 aspects, in a nutshell. One of them is internally, so this is within your organization, within your own team, and it's very, very important you identify which individuals, for example, are the ones that you can take with you. And this is a very passionate topic where people are really willing to invest their time and their efforts because they are behind this. And this is actually very important for organizations to take those into account. Now, from an external point of view, of course, as a procurement function, the supplier engagement is absolutely fundamental. So we need to be working with suppliers. We need to be working with them and making sure that you engage with them, that you train them, that you support them, that you develop them, because this is an area where there is no company that on its own is able to change the world. So this is going to be important, as sustainability is also about really making sure that you change the culture of the company and change kind of the ways of working.
Great. We move on to embed. I'm going to pass that one to you, Nic.
Thank you. So this one, in terms of embed, is all about how we make sustainability real within our procurement processes, right? And the core activities in terms of sourcing, contracting, and managing suppliers. Now, Mélani talked about sustainability being a cross-functional process, right? And our colleagues in the business or even suppliers, right? When you come to them and you say, hey, I've got this great idea, we want you to work on the sustainability topic, they might say, well, I'm really, really busy, right? So it's important to think about how we're not going to create a lot of additional work, right? We don't want to, a sustainability program, our sustainability processes, we don't want them to be overly complex, right? So we need to be thinking about how we are embedding in sustainability or even risk management processes into our standard ways of working, our standard ways of operating, right? So it's really important that we're going to have one single process that incorporates all the additional elements from a sustainability perspective, right? So we're thinking about sourcing. How are we going to discover and identify particular suppliers who are more sustainable than others, right? In terms of the way that we manage suppliers, right? Perhaps we have our regular supplier business review meetings, right? Let's make sure that sustainability is on the agenda. Let's make sure that we discuss this as a topic alongside some of the other things like performance or quality and so on, right? So part of those discussions, what does sustainability mean for you? What are our goals as a company? What efforts are you already doing? Can we learn from each other and so on and so on? But I think this is one of those areas that's important, right? We're always going to have challenges in terms of time, and one of the ways we can help in terms of managing time and getting the engagement from the people that we need is to make it as simple as possible, right? So try and make it one simple way of working rather than adding something on top that's separate and additional.
Okay, great. The next one, of course, is absolutely essential. That is measure and report. Mélani, would you speak to that, please?
Yes, of course. I think measurement is, as you said, a very important element in any type of initiative. This one in particular is important for a number of reasons. Of course, we have to, as an enterprise, we need to report on some of the activities and some of the compliance-related metrics that we need to report on. So I think this is very important. There is a range of metrics that companies are using to do that, more from a compliance standpoint of view, and they are important. Of course, working with partners like suppliers is very important to help to contribute to some of that measurement. But I think there's also another element that is very important, going beyond compliance and just this concept of ticking the box from a sustainability point of view. And it's about areas of opportunity for the function. So we in the procurement function can be able to add value to the company and, of course, and to the world in this area. So metrics such as, for example, revenue increase generated by sustainability or decrease of revenue at risk, they're metrics that help us to measure what we are doing from a compliance point of view, but also for adding value to the company. And also something very important is we were talking about what is that strategy that organizations need to put in place in order to set up their programs. It's important to look at what is the progress that has been achieved. And this can be seen in terms of the suppliers, the spend cover, whether you have assessed them, audited, what is the risk that coming from that. So there are many different areas, but absolutely fundamental is to understand, are we making the right progress and what are the key metrics that can help us from a compliance point of view, but also from value add.
So summing up those 5, we have define, formulate, drive, embed, measure, and report. Nic, let me get a final word from you, though. I mean, all of this, of course, it's good to do this. It's the right thing to do, for sure, morally and ethically, but is sustainability also good for the bottom line?
A great question, Robert. I think it really needs to be, right? If we're talking about a commercial organization, we're looking to drive value for the shareholders. We need to deliver a profit, manage our costs, drive revenue. That's just the fundamentals of business success. If you are a public sector organization, managing costs, but also delivering positive and social goods, you may have other priorities. But I think, right, a successful sustainability program, we're asking people to change the way that they're working. We're asking people to change their behaviors, do different things, right? If it's promoting human rights or reducing CO2 impact, emissions impact, or other things, right? If we can link it to business priorities like bottom line impact, that will help us to take our colleagues, take our stakeholders in the business on that journey with us. It just makes it a much easier sell, right? And I think that is a critical success factor. It's something that we should be aiming for, right? It's something that we should be able to point to.
Mélani Flores and Nic Walden of the Hackett Group, I want to thank you so much for taking us through these 5 critical enablers for creating a formal sustainability program. Thanks to both of you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.